Good afternoon and welcome to Superior Business Network's Business Show, the show where we bring to you superior businesses to learn more about them, their business, their problems, their challenges, how they solve them and how that can help you in business or as a potential client. In Superior Business Networks, we bring businesses together to help them grow their business by solving problems. So today what we're going to do is we're going to deliver a business insight about the buyer psychology. Buyer psychology is very important because we need to understand the mind of the buyer. So today we're going to look at the 4-step buy-in process. The process is credibility, relevancy, followed by value, and then the opportunity as a call to action. So what is credibility? Well, when someone comes to you to buy or you're looking to buy, this is the process you go through. In your mind, you're asking, is this person credible? Is this organisation credible? Do I trust them? So at this first stage, it's all about trust. Before we can go any further, we have to establish trust, both in your product, the organisation, and the person selling it. So if there's no trust, there is no credibility. And there are many ways to establish trust, and we'll look at that in another business insight later on. The next thing is relevancy. We need to establish whether the product or service is relevant to the client at that point in time or sometime in the future. Do they benefit from it? How they benefit, what they're going to use it for, how they're going to use it. These are all the things you as a salesperson need to establish in the buyer's mind. And of course, as a buyer, these are the things that we are establishing. And quite often, this whole buying process takes place on emotion. Okay, people buy on emotion and then justify on logic. So if you can establish relevancy in your client's mind, there's more chance they're going to take the call to action. So the next step is, once we've established that the product is relevant to the time and the need that we've established, we then need to establish value. Okay, because business is all about the transfer of value. People value the money in their pockets and they're only going to transfer that for a product and or service that they value more than the money in their pocket. So how do we establish value? Well, there is tangible value and intangible value. Obviously, tangible value is all about what you're getting for the money spent. Intangible are those things that we can't touch or feel, but we need to be able to put a value on. For example, good service. Well, how do you value good service? How do you put a value on good service? It's very hard, but you can show good service by the use of customer testimonials, because this is one way you can establish that you do deliver good service in your customer's mind. And of course, as a buyer, we want to know that we are getting great value for money. So we've established credibility, we've established relevancy, and we've established value. The next step is call to action. We need to lead the buyer to a call to action. Okay, if you don't ask for the order, then nothing's going to happen. And of course, as a buyer, we need to be led to the buying scenario, the end game, as it were. Because, you know, if they don't ask for the order, quite often you may not give it willingly. But if so much value and relevancy has been created, quite often the client will just say, you know, show me the product, here's my money. So anyway, that's the 4 steps to the buy-in process, the buyer psychology. We all go through it, whether you like it or not. We have to establish credibility, we have to establish relevancy, we have to establish value, and then there's the call to action. So that's our business insight for today. All right, so stay tuned to the SBN Business Show. Coming up very shortly, we have our first guest of our first show, and that is Tony Paul from Ace Copiers and IT Services. We're going to find out why Tony is a superior business. He's going to talk about his business, how he established it, where he is now, problems he's had along the way, how he solved those problems, and he's going to give you his business tips for you as a business person. But not only that, you'll see why you should do business with Ace Copiers and IT Services. So welcome back, and this afternoon I've got our very first special guest, Tony Paul from Ace Copiers and IT Services. So let's welcome Tony here, and he's going to give us a brief overview of what the company is all about.
Well, Dave, we're authorised copier dealers. connected to Microsoft certified IT services.
Fantastic. And how long have you been doing that, Tony?
I actually started the business in '98 as an alternative to the multinationals, which have all got branch offices here in Perth. The name Ace, well, Ace actually is someone or phenomenon which excels in what they do.
Fantastic.
So that's why I call it Ace.
And you excel at what you do. That's great.
We sure
That's
do.
Great. Well, so, look, please tell me, how does someone get into the photocopier business?
Well, funny enough, David, we're going back to the early 80s now.
Yeah.
I was actually playing soccer with a guy who was a copier tech in Perth, one of the big companies. He was going back to the UK, told me they were looking for a replacement. I was an electromechanical engineer, so I said, put my hand up.
Fantastic.
And after a small interview at Osborne Park, they shipped me to Sydney for 2 weeks, came back to a car and a toolkit. Off I went, fixing copiers.
Fantastic. And so how did the transition happen from being a tech to owning your own copier company, Tony?
Well, eventually left that tech job, moved into sales. That was just about 87, actually late 80s. Still the fallout from the 87 stock market crash. Sales weren't that good. So I went back to tech work.
Right. And funnily enough, that's when I first met Tony in those early formative years.
Yeah.
I actually worked with the same company. But can you tell us a bit more about that? So you got out of tech into sales and back into tech.
Yes.
So what happened along the way?
Correct. Okay. My last position in the corporate world, if you like, was actually service manager. So a step up from a tech to the actual manager. But I soon saw too much intervention from the accountants on how the client was actually treated.
Right.
So I quit that corporate life.
Yeah.
Because I knew I could do it better.
Right.
For the customer,
Yes.
my future staff, and myself.
Yes. Fantastic. In fact, that was one of the reasons why I started Superior Business Networks, because I was sick of that poor customer interaction. I wanted to make sure that we raised the game as to how we dealt with customers. So that's fantastic, Tony. So, yeah, look, can you tell me some more about what was lacking in that customer service, and do you think it's why some of the businesses today are struggling from lack of service?
Sure. Well, look, back in '98, the word Ace, right from day one, I wanted to supply quality equipment and quality service. 21 years later, I just see the customer service dwindling from the big companies. Mm. And again, it's probably the accountants pulling the strings.
Yeah, yeah. But at the end of the day, it is all about customer service and raising that bar and delivering. And I know that's very important to you as a company, because I've known you for quite a long time. So, so what other challenges have you had along the way, Tony?
Well, look, in 20 odd years, obviously I've made some mistakes. Bad advertising, for example, but if there are problems to be aware of, I would say it's staff and cash flow. Not necessarily in that order.
Right.
You must have good staff. Yeah. You must keep an eye on your cash flow.
Okay, so how have you solved those problems?
Well, with staff, technology advancing in 20 years, sadly, we don't need so many people now. So I've kept the good ones.
Right.
Cash flow, American Express helps. But yeah, look, any advice for small business or medium business, just keep an eye on your expenses.
Right. One of the things that I've heard about managing staff, and that is to hire slowly but to fire fast. Would you agree with that?
Yes. Yeah. It's always been a challenge for me.
Yes.
Photocopier technicians, short supply, or have been.
Right.
In the past. Good salespeople, always been a challenge.
Yes.
But after 20 odd years, I've actually cracked it. So
you've cracked it.
I've got some good people.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So, are there any tips you can give us with managing those people?
Well, there's an old saying: if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys.
Right.
It's true, I'm
Yes.
afraid.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
true. All right, so Tony, tell me a little bit more about hiring and firing people. Did you find that when you were hiring and firing that emotions were a big challenge?
Oh, definitely. Look, it's the worst job in the world to tell someone they're no longer required.
Yeah.
But it's all about employees being engaged, David.
Yes.
You know, if you go to a restaurant, cafe, and the staff member's not engaged, there's a crisis.
Yeah.
You know,
Totally.
and it reflects badly on the business.
Yeah. Fantastic. So employee engagement, that's a real critical one. So, you know, how do you engage your employees and keep them focused and keep them delivering? And so, look, Tony, can you give us a bit more of an idea of how you've engaged your employees and that it's working for you now?
Yeah, sure. Look, I work on the basis that I treat my staff the way I would like to be treated. Okay? People say it's not always about money. If you look after your staff and look after them in other ways, not just the money, they're always thankful for that.
Yeah. Fantastic.
And maybe a bit of flexibility
Yes.
in times.
Yes.
You know, if a child needs to see a specialist or whatever,
Yes.
just go along with it.
Yeah. So
They'll make the work up, the time up.
Yeah. So give and take.
Yeah.
That's great, Tony. So just listen to that. Would it be correct in saying that one of your secrets is that you actually treat employees like extended family?
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt I'm the oldest there. I'm the daddy. And they're all males at the moment. So, yeah, I treat them like my sons.
Yeah, great, fantastic. That's great.
Definitely.
That's great. So that's a great secret to success, treating your employees like family.
Yeah.
Great, Tony. So what you're saying is, I picked up on you said that if they had sick children, there was a lot of give and take. So is that that ability to trust and have confidence in your staff, is that something you've evolved with over time, or you've always had that as a...
Yeah, look, it's probably evolved. From the early years, the culture was that the customer always comes first. They might not always be right, of course, but they're always the customer. But as time went on, the culture was, if I look after my staff, the staff will look after the customers.
Fantastic.
And the customers look after the business.
Fantastic. What a great culture. Yeah. So that's a great tip from Tony. Look after your staff, because they're the ones that look after your customers. How good is that? Excellent. Excellent, Tony. So, Tony, there's some big challenges along the way, and certainly you've created a whole culture to manage that, and cash flow, it's one of the biggest challenges for businesses, as we all know, and having a line of credit, I guess, is what you meant by the American Express.
Yeah, sure.
So, you know, for the slow times. So I know you've worked hard to solve these problems in your business. What, as a business, what would make me want to come to you as a supplier of choice for IT services and/or photocopiers?
Well, look, because of the staff we've got at the moment, if you contact us by phone or email, you'll be contacting a professional. We're big enough to support you, and we're small enough to care.
Fantastic.
We're after long-term business relationships, not just short-term profits.
Fantastic, fantastic. An important way to differentiate yourself in the marketplace by providing great service with great staff. What tips would you have for anybody in business, anybody starting out or that's been in business for a while?
Well, look, as I say, my experience, you must have good staff, keep an eye on your cash flow, and certainly keep an eye on your expenses.
Yeah.
Because too many expenses can tip you over the edge.
For sure, for sure. Have you?
And let's face it, most businesses fail because of cash flow.
They do indeed.
Too many
They
expenses.
do indeed. It's one of the biggest reasons for business failure today. So what tips could you give to reduce on expenses?
As the business owner, just keep an eye on everything. Don't rely on the bookkeeper or the accountant. At the end of the day, it's not their money, it's yours.
It's yours. There you go. That's the accountant word again.
Yeah.
So it's important to have great accountants.
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful, Tony. So you were talking about longevity. So what does that look like for Ace Copiers and IT?
Well, I can't see any changes in the foreseeable future, David. I've got no plans to retire or jump ship, so
Yeah.
I'm in it for the long haul.
Fantastic, fantastic. This is great information, Tony, and I'm glad you're here sharing with us today. But I just want to pick up on a point there. You said about being high tech. So how do you keep up with high tech in your own business?
Yep. Well, me personally, I'm the general manager, sales and marketing, so not directly involved in sales. So I try and keep ahead of trends in sales and marketing. I've got salespeople do the street work and technical people that keep up with the tech stuff.
And what about changes in things like social media and...
Yeah, again, I leave that to the experts. I'm a great believer. Outsource what you can. And look, let's face it, a business owner can't do everything. You have to let go and let other people do the work, whether it's internally or externally. The social media work, we outsource. And with technology in general, David, we've all said and spoke about the paperless office. My view, if a business said we're going paperless, I think their productivity would take a big dive. Everything will get processed a lot slower. So in the foreseeable future, I still pieces of paper being complementary to electronic documents.
But this is great information, Tony, and it's very valuable to other business people out there in the marketplace and certainly potential clients for your business. So when that day does finally come, Tony, what would you like to be known for?
Wow. Okay. Well, the word ace again. Someone excels in what they do. I suppose I'd like to be remembered as an ace business owner, the one that had that culture in the workplace.
Yeah.
You look after your staff, they look after the customers, and the customers look after the business.
Fantastic.
If I was remembered for doing that and having my staff all working well, looking after their families, I'd be happy with that.
Fantastic. What a legacy. That's great. Thanks, Tony. Thanks. Oh, fantastic. What a great way to start SBN Business Show. Tony Paul from Ace Copiers and IT Services, a man with a vision for his company that empowers his staff with trust and confidence that they will fulfill their duties and create the environment that customers want to deal with them, because if you look after your staff, they'll look after your customers. How great is that? So, you know, it's fantastic to get that insight from Tony, and I believe that anybody in business, if you've got staff, you need to create the right culture that empowers your staff and treat them like an extended family. So that was a wonderful interview, and you could feel that really came from Tony's heart, to the extent that I want to show you that, that final bit in his words as we close the show today. So once again, I'd like to thank Tony from Ace Copiers and IT, and don't forget, all it takes is one golden nugget to make all the difference in your business.
I suppose I'd like to be remembered as an ace business owner, the one that had that culture in the workplace.
Yeah.
You look after your staff, they look after the customers, and the customers look after the business.
Fantastic.
If I was remembered for doing that and having my staff all working well, looking after their families, I'd be happy with that.